lying piece of shit. So here you go.
That's awesome, man. All right, Mina,
Love it,
well,
man.
we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of Mic'd Up Millionaires. Today, I got
Fuck,
myself
I
a
didn't know that was the
millionaire.
name.
Yeah, dude, I
That's
got my
awesome.
very first millionaire on here. His name is Mina Sammy, or Mina G, whatever you want to call my man. You can call him whatever you want. Just call him a hustler. That's what he is. And this is the very first episode of what I hope will become an interesting online community and open discussion with a bunch of people that sort of found their way to wealth, whether that was either by pulling themselves up by their own shoelaces and really grinding through it, or maybe there are some people that will get on the show that were actually born with some sort of wealth or inheritance that then turned it into something bigger. But I know today Mina is probably like myself, and if you're just meeting me, my name's Adam Martin. I am on Instagram and every other social platform as Adam JD Martin. I'm a 26-year-old real estate investor that started about 3 years ago in the real estate game with my mentor, Matt McKeever. If you guys don't know who he is, go check him out on YouTube. Just go youtube.com/Matt McKeever, and you'll find out all about the investing strategies and stuff that we are using to grow our portfolios, grow our wealth, and grow our influence, because we're quite often now talking more so about influence and visibility and how we can change the world more than we are about the next duplex or triplex or fiveplex or tenplex, right? Or I'm not sick of them, but I really don't want this podcast to turn into another goddamn real estate podcast where we're talking about like, here's the Burr method, here's the 1% rule, here's how you house hack or become more frugal. Fuck all that. If you're here listening to this and you want to stick through and listen to some more episodes from myself and some fantastic guests, this is going to be all about how to generate wealth in the various ways and the kind of shit that it took to get there. Because I know for me, it wasn't easy getting to where I'm at. Today, I'm fairly comfortable. I'm always chasing. I think I'm going to be chasing the people that show up on this podcast. But everyone I have on here, I intend on being just fantastic and of real character and grit. So stay tuned. And here we go. The very first episode. Mina, what is up?
Bro, I am so excited for you and this podcast because I know it's going to be fucking huge. You have the personality to do 25 podcasts, so this is like way overdue. And I'm super pumped that I'm part of the first thing here. And we have like similar personalities, so you know what's up. And yeah, I'm very excited. So let's jump into it.
Yeah, man. So the one of the first times I met you was actually looking at a larger piece of commercial real estate that my mentors, Matt and Jeff Weibo, actually own now. So Matt McKeever and Jeff Weibo bought that building that you were sort of window shopping on that day. And the very next encounter I had with you, I think, was one where I knew it was going to be solid. I'm like, we're going to be pals. This is going to work out. We were on a private limo tour, Jeff Weibo's limo tour here in London, Ontario. And I just noticed you had that beautiful two-tone Rolex on, in blue. And I was like, you know what? I love this right now. And it was actually, it relit the spark that I had to go and chase bigger things. I started talking to you and you said you were a pharmacist. I was like, what the hell? Like, where's this guy coming from? He's on our real estate limo tour. And then the more I got talking to you and the more I got to know you, the more fascinated I was about your story. So I think it would be useful for everybody to get a better idea of the context of how you got to where you're at. So maybe let's start, give us, a quick, 1 minute on where you're at. And then let's go back to the beginning on how you got there. Cause I think that's the more important part.
Sure, man. So just a little note on that limo tour meeting, because I remember that very clearly. It kind of gave me sort of a push because I used to, when I first bought that Rolex, it was one of the things where I bought it. I wasn't on that status at all, but I wanted it so bad for very long. And it was one of the things that you have to have. And I bought it and I was always not ashamed, but I wasn't very comfortable wearing it in public because every time someone looks at me, it was like, oh, look at this idiot. This is such a waste of money. And you were the only one that was celebrating it. Fuck, I like that. I want one. And you got one. And I was blown away that, okay, maybe I'm just dealing with the wrong assholes and I have to deal with people who would encourage whatever you like. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a watch, but just be proud of what you have and drive for more and just go out there. So I appreciate you for that. Second thing is where I'm at right now, I just like this real estate thing is awesome and everything, but as you said, it's so boring to just, oh, I got another duplex, oh, I got another, screw that. The goal is to like grow bigger and much faster than the current rate. So at this point where we're doing this podcast, I have like 31 doors.
Dude.
Good for me, blah blah blah, but it's
Hey,
still
when did
not
you get started though? When did you get started?
like the
31 doors.
first duplex I closed on was October 17, 2019. Like
So we're
7 months
recording this.
ago.
It's 31 May right now. So dude,
Yeah.
7 months you picked up 31 units. That's impressive. I actually love that. Like, I think that's one of the real estate discussions that is acceptable on this podcast is like, holy shit, dude. What did it take to get there, man?
Like honestly, it was kind of easy for me because I'm this impulsive guy. You know, hey, if it sounds like it's good, just try it. And most of my discussions with my own self isn't like what if, what if, what if. It's usually the other side. What is my downside here? First duplex, like we were in a limo tour, nobody wanted it. I'm like, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna think of it as a $10,000 loss. If I learned everything about real estate for $10,000 and I met a bunch of people, that is worth it for me. So I just went ahead and did that. Obviously, I didn't lose anything because the market helps you out and you're leveraged and shit like that. So it worked out perfectly. And then every transaction was the same. How bad is the loss on this? Oh, it doesn't seem that bad. All right, let's try it. So keep moving on and you just learn shit. And the next deal is usually better than the last one because you have more experience. Yeah, it doesn't seem too hard so far. I guess it's harder once you want to start thinking actual big. Like 31 doors sounds good, but it's not that impressive. I can't lay
Yeah.
down on the beach now. So I need to, 10x that shit.
Yeah, you're still hustling. So why don't you tell us, where are you from, man? How did this all start? You're not from
So
Canada, are you?
no. I'm Egyptian. So I was born in England, like the UK, but I'm Egyptian. I was raised in Egypt most of my life. And yeah, I came here in 2014. I was a pharmacist back home, and that doesn't mean you have money over there. Everything is bullshit. But it just gave me this unfair advantage, I guess, because I wasn't comfortable. And then I didn't work like extremely hard in my eyes. I was just working. And then if you just do above average work in this country, you get paid tremendously. So I'm like,
Yeah.
if I'm getting paid tremendously for 8 hours of work, why shouldn't I work 10 or 16 or like more? Because it's very direct payment. You work more, you're gonna get more. It's just very easy. So I didn't have that I guess disadvantage of like, oh, but what if I chill? So it just worked out for me that way. And in no means did I have like a, extremely rough time, but in some people's eyes, it would be. Like I did sleep. I was in the army, for example, in Egypt. We did sleep on the street, like on the asphalt at night. You're just there. It didn't really bother me. And I worked in London. I used to work 16 to 18-hour days. I used to work in a hostel as a reception from midnight till about 8 o'clock in the morning. I
Nice.
changed in the hostel because I had another job at 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 in a health food store. So I finished that and I went over there, came back, slept in the hostel reception so I could do my shift. And it was just like, yeah, right, that's what you do. You got to work. Like, who cares? Shut up. Yeah, like it worked out that way. And I moved here 2014. Obviously, no money and all that good stuff. But there's money literally everywhere. I know I told you, and some people do know that already, that I was selling like flags on the street and, got a bike selling water in parks. And as stupid as it may sound, but I fucking like the flag. One day I made like $2,000-3,000 in cash. Like I didn't have,
Nice.
it's just like money's out there. Nobody just wants to do the shit. So yeah, like that's pretty much it. I didn't have too
So
much.
what inspired you, man, to go from, obviously you moved here and then you start working at this hostel. Like, what inspired you to even go for the second job? And then like, what inspired you then to like start hustling and selling flags and water? Like, what gave you that burn, dude? Like, you're obviously chasing something, or otherwise you'd just be fucking laying back, working 9 to 5 at that hostel, and doing fine, making 30 grand a year, and that covers your living, cost of
Yeah, like
living and everything. And
so for me, I think it's just I don't know where I got this, but deep down I always knew I'm just gonna be like filthy rich. That's just who I am. I was riding the bus and going to like the spot where I'm selling flags, and I find like dudes with Porsches, and I'm internally looking down on them. I was like, you don't even know, man. Like, I'm gonna be filthy rich, and probably that's delusional, but it doesn't matter because that gets you. You have a self narrative telling you something, and whether it's true or false, but if you truly believe that self narrative, your brain gives you ideas and pushes you to do that to prove your own self talk. So that's why self talk is extremely important. Even if you think it's delusional, just feed your own brain that shit and it will magically come up with stuff. And that's what happened with me. Is like, does a rich man like sit at home? No, he doesn't. He has money. So how do I get the money? And just ideas usually come up. And I didn't look at them as like, I'm hustling, the killer. It's just like normal to me. So, and I don't know where that switch turned on. I wish I could help in that. It just turned on somehow. And yeah, kept moving from there.
That's wicked, dude. And you're totally right about that. You said something interesting there. Does the rich man just sit at home? No, of course not. Like, how's that going to work out? Like, there's a reason, right? This is not by accident. Like, these guys are out there hustling, they're committed, they're following routines, they're living out of their calendar, they're making intentional moves for their business, for their lifestyle, for their relationships, and when I say relationships, I mean like romantic as well as professional. Like, they're being intentional, right? Like, I don't think anybody really gets rich being unintentional, right? Sitting at home waiting for it to happen. So man, what are some of your like routines and things that let you keep hustling? Because dude, you join, sometimes you sit on our team meetings and we start those every morning at 8 a.m. You're there, you're in the car, right? You're hustling, you're driving. I don't know even know where you're driving to. You're always driving somewhere. You're always in the car at 8 a.m. And then from what I understand, you're running at least one pharmacy. And then you've got the real estate portfolio, you've got a family. So like, dude, how are you balancing all this? What are some of your habits that get you through?
So this is a part where maybe I feel I'm struggling with. Like, I don't have a particular set routine where I do everything exactly the same. I don't have that. And but what I do have is, if I if I have a slump, I'm okay with having a slump. But for some reason, if I get a consecutive 3-4 days of slump, my brain gets completely depressed. I just hate it, and then it pushes me back up. I sit down with myself. What do I need to do? And then I just wake up every morning and just do what I have to do. The best thing that I found worked for me was sitting down one day a week and just planning that week out. I never used to do
Nice.
that because in
That's
my
huge.
mind, I'm like, I know what to do. I don't need to plan it out. I'm not like these guys. My brain is a machine, like all that shit. But when you sit down and plan it out, it takes away that capacity that you need to remember all these things to do. And you get organized and you just move, and then it wakes you up. I never, like, maybe not never, but 70% of the time I never wake up with an alarm. It just wake up
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I have shit to do, and it just, you sleeping thinking about it, and it just wakes you up. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's the most important part, is just plan it out and just have, like, I guess, a reason. Even if it's money or you want girls or whatever the stupid reason that you have, just have a fucking reason.
Yeah. Man, you need a why. Like, you need a reason to get out of bed. And I found that like whenever my why's not strong or whenever I'm lying to myself about what that why is, like it immediately impacts my daily habits and my performance and like what I'm doing. So like, if I don't believe in my why and what I'm doing, it's really easy for me to sleep in, have a lazy day, watch Netflix, watch TV, do whatever, right? And I'm just so distracted. But when my why is on, when I know what I want, like the Rolex, for example, when I set my sights on the Rolex, like, dude, I was hustling every single day. And I've talked about this too on Matt's, or no, not Matt, on Jeff's channel, where I was talking about like, dude, I decided I needed that Rolex, and one came up as a private listing because the Hulk's particularly hard to get retail. This Hulk came up on a private listing, and I committed right then and there, sent the guy a deposit, and immediately made like 100 phone calls. I'm like, holy shit, I got to go hustle my way out of this problem now, because it's a $20,000 problem that like I'd created for myself. And that was enough, man, to drive me through the day, through a bunch of calls that I'd kind of been putting off and just not making. And immediately, like, it's interesting how like productivity begets more productivity. So like the more productive you are, the more happy you feel and want to be more involved. So There was another little thing you touched on there that is a really popular concept that Jocko Willink talks about. So he's a retired Navy SEAL commander. And he was in like Ramadi and a bunch of these like really epic war theaters. And he talks about this concept that discipline equals freedom. So that's the idea that like, if you take that day to plan, it's really easy then to say no to shit that doesn't fit the plan, right? Because like, as long as you have the plan, you know what you're supposed to be doing. So if you need to adapt, then like, you know what you're foregoing, as opposed to just forgetting, you know, whatever that task was. And you're like, oh yeah, I can do that. But then you forget that other little thing that you've been putting off, and it gets put off another day. Another thing he likes to talk about is like, tomorrow doesn't fucking exist. Like, that's not an option. Like, do the thing now, right? As soon as it gets done, as soon as you're on top of it, you're so much better positioned for attacking into the next phase. Like, what is it we're trying to accomplish? So I love that you're talking about that kind of stuff, man. And I just love that mindset of growth. So tell me, man, like, where are you at now with your active businesses? So you're still, you're managing, is it just one pharmacy, or you've got more?
So no, I own three, and like they're in different parts of the GTA. So one is in like North York, Toronto, and then this town called Bradford. And yeah, like I'm working towards that, but it doesn't, like I don't see myself as the guy that has 70 pharmacies, right? I just don't see myself that guy. And that's why I'm not working towards it as much. I would love to, but it's not what I see myself. So that's why I usually find something else that ties into my own self-talk. And my own
Yeah.
self-talk is usually not that. There is an interesting point where sometimes I feel people get stuck with is like, okay, how do I sit down and plan? And they forget something very important, which is just, are you actually fucking working hard? Because you might think you're working hard. Or like, I see people like, oh, what are the millionaire habits? I'm like, dude, okay, the first habit you need to fucking know is get out there and do something. If you're sitting on your ass, like with 3 days a week and you're just waiting for Friday, don't look at fucking habits and what do you do at 5 a.m. or like, none of that matters. I didn't even know this existed until like before I met you guys. All I knew was just get out and do some work. Just talk to some people, get some money, and then start figuring out. Like I kind of bothers me when I see someone who has like $300 and they're like, which stock should I buy? I'm like, dude, what stock? What, man? Just shut up, go work. Just go shut up and work 16 hours a day, and then start thinking about, oh, how can I make a 5% return or whatever that looks like. So that's an interesting point. But I feel most people would start thinking to themselves that there is a secret, that there is something that happened. There is. Yeah, you can get lucky. I'm very lucky. I can't deny that. But you can't get behind the fact that you didn't work as hard as I did. So come on, fuck you. Like, you can't get this way. It's just, you don't have any other choice, right?
Man, everybody, this is a common theme. It's everywhere. Like, you look at LeBron, you look at Tiger Woods, you look at Hugh Hefner, you look at Oprah, you look at The Rock, you look at Kevin Hart, you look at any of these people that have managed to achieve like absolutely like mind-shattering productivity and results. And like the core of all of it is just literally put in the reps. And I see this all the time too, where we get a lot of people reaching out to us through the YouTube channel and through our education business and stuff like that. And they're so focused, dude, on this thing called mindset. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like, you got to have a good mindset. But where it really kills me is where they tell me, like, you know what, I was going to do this. I was going to go hit my goal. I was going to go make more offers on real estate deals. I was going to go start the business. I was going to go put in the work, but my mindset just wasn't right that day. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? What does that even mean, dude? You got to tell me what you mean by that. Because if mindset, or the idea of mindset, is preventing you and causing a roadblock from you moving forward and hitting your goals, like, you got a big problem. And like, the reality of it is, like, how do you get great? It's just putting in the reps. And like, we talk about this with our real estate business all the time, our wholesaling business. It's like, I don't give a shit about your mindset, dude. Make more offers. That's it. It's a really tactical little thing. That's all you have to do. Make more offers and you will get more deals. That's a fact, right? Like, entering more negotiations will give you more chances of walking away with the deal. right? If you want to be great at golf, you better start swinging the goddamn golf club. Don't be theorizing how to get the ball further with some kind of mechanical approach or like, you know, some theory. It's like, no, dude, swing the club, like get it sorted out. And I look at a lot of these people and like, I love some of these more like military inspirations that I look to, like David Goggins or Jocko Willing, because like these guys are just savages, and like their message is always the same, like just put in the goddamn work. And so it's so funny. And you know what? You actually said something crazy there too. You said you're pretty lucky, but like, you know, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Like, dude, if you're working back-to-back doubles, like you're working shifts all day, you're putting in 16-hour days, then you're looking for other hustles where you make some extra revenue selling water, selling flags, whatever it is. Like, dude, there's nothing lucky about that. You're just literally working harder than the next guy. And kind of the first thing you said too was like, if you just work above average here, you get compensated radically. So that, and like
it's crazy.
dude, it's literally immediate. It's like a fucking tidal wave of money comes at you. And it's so hard to understand for so many of these people that are locked into this 9 to 5 mindset of like, when I'm done work, I go home, I have a beer, I put my feet up, I watch my show, and you know, the wife and I kind of talk or whatever. Like, no, man, if you are living that circle, if you're in that vicious circle of mediocrity right now, it's like, you just need to give up, change your friends, right? If you're getting bad influences from your family, you got to fire these people. You cannot be listening to them all the time if they're going to hold you back and hold you down. I think it's really important, man, who you surround yourself with. What do you think about that idea?
There's a caveat there, though, at least in my opinion, because some people, so it depends what you really want, like what really makes you happy.
Yeah.
Because if you go home and you kick your feet up and you're fucking happy, then man, you get that. But if I start hearing you complain and you're like, oh, but this guy's okay, then you gotta shut up. So if one time your brain, even if you didn't say it out loud, but if at one point you started criticizing someone like, oh, you got there because his dad is blah blah blah, then you're fucking lying to yourself. You want to get to that level, but you're not working. So once you hear that self-talk, that means you gotta shut up, get your ass off that couch, and go do some work. It's just that easy, right? There is no way around it. Once you reach a level where your own capacity is like maximized, then you could look at, oh, should I meditate more or should I? But if you're working 5 hours a day, then meditation is not your problem. You really fucking need to push it a little further and then start looking at whatever tricks can help you maximize your capacity, right?
Well, this is what I'm looking at, man. It's these young guys that are like, oh, I want to make $1 million. And I'm like, cool. Why are you talking to me about it, dude? Go work. Like, what are you saying? Like, making $1 million is not that hard. You just need to go put in work. And when they focus on like mindset and they're not working and they're not putting in the reps, I'm like, man, you guys, there's no magic secret. Like, the secret is just literally bust your ass off. Like, that's it. Like, and I'm sure it wasn't easy, man. Like, coming from Egypt, coming from like, you know, being an immigrant to Canada, where it's like this giant world of opportunities, and then all of a sudden you got to kind of pick what you're going to do and then double down on it. But what I really loved about your story is like, you haven't stopped. Like, you didn't get content, you didn't slow down. Like, you worked the double jobs, you sold the flags, you sold the water, you've been through some hard times. And one of the interesting things, actually, we kind of skipped over, I wanted to chat about it back there, was sort of, and I think some people probably do need to hear this, but I remember at the One Cash Flow Tribe event, you talked about your negative self-talk. So like, how do you let that happen? Because like, I do this too sometimes, where I'm like, dude, you're not fucking working hard enough. You're not doing enough. Like, you're not keeping up. There's people around you doing better than you, and you're surrounded by all these successful people. And you almost get this like imposter syndrome where you're like, I don't even know if I deserve to be, you know, living in this mansion with all these guys that are just crushing it. I don't know if I should have this Rolex on. Like, I don't know if I should, you know, be able to stand on stages and speak or even have a podcast like this, right? So tell me a bit about that. Because I think some people can get motivated too, and they're probably telling themselves right now, like, they're not good enough.
Like, I struggle with this a lot because on the one hand, you have your own self telling you things, and that is part of who you are, and that's part of the journey. So where I failed was I let other people's opinions, and you told me that several times, and I still having trouble to get over it. But the reality of it is you're talking to yourself negatively because you have, like, whatever you want to call it, an ego or whatever, you feel like you should be at this level. But you're talking
Yeah.
to yourself negatively because you didn't reach that level. And that helps you, it helps me at least kind of push. Like when I look at myself and I look back at my couple of weeks and then what did I really do? I didn't do shit. So I don't, like, at least my brain doesn't work with like positive reinforcement. Well, oh, good boy, man. Like that just slows me down. When I feel threatened and I feel, oh, I'm not doing shit, and look at everybody around me, they're doing much better than I am, it pushes me. And it kind of helps my self narrative of I'm better than everybody around me. Let me work 3 times as hard as they do. So you shouldn't let other people's opinion of how you should talk to yourself or whatever that looks like, as long as you're not putting yourself down and slowing you down, then why listen to them? You told me that, I remember, and it kind of worked a little bit. And then I just kept saying to myself, why am I talking to myself this? Why? Well, it doesn't fucking matter, does it? Just do whatever you have to do to get to the next level. And then once you're in the next, if it makes you happy, good. If it doesn't, fucking do it again, and then get to the whatever level until you're happy. And there's no end line. Like Matt McKeever talked about this multiple times. If you're waiting for like that, I don't know, specific car or a specific dollar value to make you happy, there is none of that. You got to just love the ride. And I do love the ride. Why did I fucking let someone else's opinion tell me not to love the ride? And, oh, this is not what you should be happy about. If you're going to lose a battle, who wants to lose a battle to an opinion? Fuck, like, fuck
Right.
the opinions, right? If I lose a battle to an opinion, then I fucking lost to the shittiest, most available thing in the world. And that's just idiotic, right? So just like be happy and kind of move on, help people along the way if you can. And fuck it, if nobody likes it, doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. So I've went through many transitions like that, where it's like, I got to phase out some old friends, some opinions of like family members and stuff, where like I continue to go into the riskier paths of life, right? Like I quit my job and started working with Matt, and like I was driving an hour and a half each way every morning. Get up at 5 a.m, drive here, work 12 hours or so, try and get an hour in with Matt just for some mentorship, and then drive back to London through snowstorms, blizzards, black ice, everything. Like it was legit effort, doing work that I had no idea how to do even, really. And then that translated into, creating the wholesaling business that we have here now, which I think it's the fastest growing wholesaling business in Canada, which is fantastic. Like that's amazing to say. And then we've got a software company now too, and online education company, and then real estate holdings. So like it's really blossomed into this beautiful thing that I can really see growing. And like one of my main motivations for it is I am getting to help a lot of people. Like I said this, I was just on the 7-2 real estate investor Mark Smith's podcast a couple of days ago, and I was like, you know what, if we can change one person's life, if we can help out one person just by having these conversations, like I think we did the right thing. So it's inspiring, man, to see you just come from like, you definitely didn't start with an advantage. There's no way. Like you didn't start at the top of Everest and then try and climb 10 feet, like you started from the bottom, you came, you hustled, you worked your ass off, and here you are now, right? 31 units, 3 pharmacies, who knows what's next. But dude, what's your why? Like what actually keeps you going?
So like this,
why
I tried to find that, profound
point,
why. I don't have like a profound, meaningful, tear-jerking reason. I just don't. The reason I just like being on top. I'm just like, if I can't sit with someone and then see how much better they am than me and just be like, oh, good for them, I'm happy where I am there. No, fuck that. I can't. I'm just competitive. I don't hate that person, but I have to outwork him. Like, why is he outworking me? And it just keeps me moving. I enjoy that. Like, I enjoy feeling that I'm outworking someone else. And you wait and see in 3 years, look at what I'm going to do. That's just my own self-talk. And it just keeps me going. And I'm happy with that. So, yeah, until that changes, I'm going to keep chasing that. And I found it interesting because it always bothered me as well. Why don't I have, like, everybody has this amazing, when you ask them, what is your why? And then they start crying. I'm sorry, I don't have that. I don't have that much emotional attachment to whatever I'm doing. But look at like Michael Jordan, if you watch The Last Dance, and whenever he was in a championship game or whatever, even if he didn't have a why, he searched. He tried to find something. Like that dude didn't say hi to me. Like another manager, another team didn't say
Yeah.
hi to him before a game or whatever. And he just took that, internalized it, started feeling hate or whatever he started feeling in competitiveness, and it got him going. And then he won the championship. And then he started looking for another reason. Like it doesn't matter. So I feel like people should just whatever they're working for them, just take that and enjoy it until you find the next thing.
Yeah.
Nobody ever has a fucking 1 point from whenever they were born till they're dead. It changes and it's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, I actually feel quite a bit the same. And when people ask me this question, like I always get a little bit squirrely around them. And that's what I always loved about chatting with you. Cause like, you know, I think both you and I embrace the fact that like, we don't really have a huge emotional connection to it. Like, I don't care about my real estate. I don't care about, you know, my Rolex. I don't care about really anything that I have. But like the fact that I have it does make me happy. Like it's hilarious. But and for me, it's really like the process, right? Like I need that shiny thing. Like I think my next thing, and I really do need to make this decision on which one it is. And I think I just need to go drive them. But like the next thing I just want is like, I want a Porsche, dude. I want a 911, or I want an Aston Martin, because I've always loved Astons. And like, yeah, I want to be James Bond, you know, like it's fun. And for me, like it doesn't need to be more of a why than that, because, and I realized this actually at the start of this COVID-19 pandemic, you know, I was ready to catch my breath. I've been pushing like redlining for a long time. And I was like, you know what, this is actually kind of nice because I'm going to catch my breath. I'm going to sit around and just take a minute for me. And you know what, dude? I drank way too much. I watched way too much Netflix. Dude, I didn't do fucking anything for like 2 weeks. Like it was brutal, man. Like I was absolutely slacking to like the highest order of that, you know, of the word. Like I was slacking, man. And like after 2 weeks of that, I was like, oh my God, like what's the point? Like what I realized is like that would be almost like being retired and having all the money in the world, but nothing to do, right? Like nothing to do with it. Or like, what was the point? I like had all these resources. I had time, I had money, I had everything available to me, but I was just like so depressed about it, man. And I really found out that like during this little pandemic that like, even when I'm redlining, like there's a reason, like I'm chasing something. And dude, I love the chase. That's my actual why. Is like, I literally love the chase. Once I get it, every morning I'm happy to see my Rolex. I love watching it tick. What doesn't even tick? It sweeps. I love watching that secondhand sweep around and the date change. And every day I look at it at 10:31. Like right now, boom, it's 3. It's 3 on the button. And I just love that. Like, look at how money that looks. But like, you know, that gives me joy. I get happy every time I see it. But like, I also wear it every day. I scratch it. Dude, the bracelet's already got scratches all over the clasp and everything. That's cool though. I don't care. I'm here to use it. If I really want one, I'll buy another one. You know, if I want to keep one pristine. And I think that it's cool to embrace that idea. And like, there's these people out there that are like, you know, money doesn't buy happiness, or like, you're never going to be happy, or when does it stop? This is something I get a lot from my family. Like, when's enough? And it's like, what do you mean? Like, what's the point of enough? Like, what does that even actually mean to you? And they never have a good answer. But like, you know, they're like, you work all the time. I'm like, yeah, but when I don't work, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting around here getting fat and drunk. And like, that's not cool. So like, what's the fucking point? And that stuff fires me up because, you know, when you have this attitude, it's really hard to lose, right? Like everything is just like a sidestep or a pivot to the next adventure. So recently, like I had to sell a project that I had started that I was underfunded in. So like I just sold my fourplex, and I just didn't have enough funds to do the project properly. And I had to get my partner's capital back. And there was this whole goddamn drawn out story where like COVID really hurt it. People had broken in and stolen all the copper and wiring and everything like that. And it just turned into a nightmare, man. And I had to sell it. And I think I'm going to end up losing money on it. But like the interesting thing is like, I learned a great lesson there. And like, I'm just converting that right into my next phase of like chasing that next thing. So like, if I want a Porsche, like, does losing that building actually hurt me? I don't think so. like all these little things, like people get so set back. And I've been doing some calls and like people reaching out to me after a recent podcast that I did where I was talking about some of my failures. And these people kept reaching out, and it's so funny because like they bring me their problems and their challenges, and like all they're actually looking for when I talk to them is for me to just give them permission to proceed. It's like, hey, yeah, that fucking sucks, dude. You lost 20 grand, you lost 50 grand, you lost 100 grand. But guess what? Like, who gives a shit? What are you going to do? You're either going to lay down and die, or you're going to go on the offensive and go and make it back. And like, if you're not willing to, then maybe you do just lay down and die. But literally, what is the point? And that's what I love. Like, let's go chase all this stuff, man. Let's get planes. Let's get around the world. Like, I've been to 17 countries and had a great time doing it. I've spent every dollar I ever made on traveling and food and women and all the great things about life that I love, right? And I just can't see the point in doing anything else. So it's like, what
Like,
are we
honestly, what
to
you're
do,
saying
man?
is fucking perfect. I can't put it any other way, because I can hear, some people saying, oh, but that's not the point of life. Well, if you have another point, then just go chase that. It doesn't
Go do it.
like, don't take this whole shit too seriously. You're living a certain amount of time. Do whatever. It's just a journey. Like, enjoy it. Whatever that weird shit that you like, just enjoy it and be happy. And the great thing about living in a country like this, it just bothers me when people just don't chase after the thing, because what if in 20 years, like, dude, you're living in a country where there's extremely limited downside. Like, what is like, when I think about it, what is my absolute worst case scenario? I'm just going to walk into a fucking Tim Hortons and work there. Like,
Literally.
do you think these people not hire me? They'll fucking hire me in a heartbeat. I'll work in Tim Hortons. And the worst case scenario is I'm going to be eating sliced fruit like a bougie piece of shit. Like, even if I'm working at a Tim Horton, like, you're better than 90% of the world if you're working the worst job. You're eating sliced fruit you're watching Netflix with all the alcohol and debauchery you want at the worst case scenario. So
that's
why not go
bottom.
fucking absolute? Yeah, like, it blows my mind. Like, the bottom is
I look at it.
dream for everybody else, right?
I love it, man.
It's crazy. Like, it just bothers me so. But what if, like, in 20 years, like, fuck you, just shut up and just go do something. And if it doesn't work, just do something else. Like, who gives a shit, right?
Yeah,
like you put it perfectly.
Man. And I love it. I think, we've got a certain amount of risk tolerance, which is really helping us to proceed with high velocity. Like, dude, the fact that you acquired 30 plus units in 7 months, like, that's stupid crazy. Like, most people, and even still, when I see them setting their goals, they're like, well, I'd like to pick up one single family or a duplex, and like one every 2 years for the next 5 years. And then I'm going to be at like 5 or 6 units. And I'm always just like, okay, but why? You know what I mean? Like, what's the fucking point? And like, of course that puts you like, if working at Tim Hortons is still like gold and cream of the crop for most of the world, but like, and then having like 5 or 6 houses or rental units here would be like an even bigger improvement. But I'm like, but why, dude? It's the same amount of energy to own 3 of them as it is to own 30 of them. It's the same amount of bullshit, except there's no reward. It's like, dude, you're making $500 or $1,000 or $2,000 of cash flow a month. And like, that's not going to change your life. Like, you're still screwed, man. If you get a big medical emergency, if you get a big repair bill, if you get anything happen in your life, think if something happens to someone in your family, like, you're not going to have the resources to proceed with velocity and without hesitation, because like, imagine, dude, like your brother, your mom, your whatever gets into a health situation, and all of a sudden you're sitting there debating over 30, 40, 50 grand. Like, really? And it's for mom's life, and you're like, fuck, I don't know if I have it. And you got to go think about how you're going to do it. Like, dude, why not have more? I don't see it. I'd love for somebody to reach out to me, DM me on Instagram, Adam JD Martin, and tell me why I shouldn't have everything, because I got a problem. And like, the problem is that like, I want everything,
Yeah.
and like, but why not have it? Because it's like you said, the worst case is that you lose everything. And then guess what? You learned everything on the way. You can rebuild it back 3 times faster, knowing what you know, right? Like, if I came and took all your properties right now, how soon do you think you would have another 30?
another
Like,
3 months. I'll be right back.
dude,
Like,
it'll
fuck
be
that.
3 months. And if you like truly started at zero, you know, with all of the resources you have, like to in lessons learned, like, man, you'd be able to scale that up like crazy, man. Like if I took your pharmacies, you think it'd be a burden on you really to like get a few more? Like it'd be so
Zilch.
easy, dude. It'd be like, boom, that's it. But there's still that guy right now that's like, if only I could have one. You know, if only I could buy a rental, if only I could get a pharmacy, if only I could just, you know, hit that next level. And like, I just want people, if they're still listening to this, already know that they're fucking insane. But if they're still here, I think we're like half an hour or so in, or even more. Like, if you're here listening to this, like, listen to Mina's story. He came from goddamn Egypt. Okay, I don't think anybody's coming to Egypt with special privileges. Okay, so he came from Egypt. He worked at a hostel and then went to another job when he was done changing at the hostel. Okay, he didn't even go home. Then he goes and sells water bottles on his bicycle. Okay, and then he takes that and then starts selling flags of all goddamn things. Like, the dude ran his own little bazaar here in Canada and he's pocketing thousands of dollars a day because he had the courage and the grit to just stick it out and be innovative and really go for it. And now look, like, dude, you got three pharmacies, 31 residential units, and you're crushing it. And like, I don't see any end to it because you're calling me all the time with these new deals and new opportunities and looking to, you know, get into different buildings and assignments and stuff. What do you think the next chapter is, man? What are you going to do?
Like,
What's the next
I really
thing?
don't know, man.
I saw you shopping Porsches yesterday. That was cool.
Yeah, like, fuck it. I just love having the thing to chase. Exactly like you were saying. Just, you have a thing that you're chasing and you're working towards and exciting. Once you get it, it's not like the thing itself that made you happy. Made you happy that you fucking had your eye on something and you ran all the way and you fucking reached there and you got it. So I really don't know, like, what is the next step for me. That's why I used to like the period where I'm double shifting, and because I know,
Yeah.
everybody, I'm looking at everybody on the street. You idiots, you have no clue what I'm gonna be. And I had this feeling like I trusted myself. Who's that?
We got another millionaire on the street, Mr. Jeff Weibo himself, with his lovely wife Shannon and their new baby Max.
Max.
I'm gonna get Jeff on here next. He's probably gonna be one of the next interviews, but anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's awesome.
Wave to Jeff. Dude, it's cool too when you could just be in a neighborhood. Everybody here's got resources. Hey, you know who you should
bad
surround
can it be?
yourself
Like,
with?
really? Exactly.
Dude, you know who you want to surround yourself with? People that got resources. It's blue skies always here. It doesn't even rain here.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck. But like, I feel like the advantage that I had is when I came here, I didn't know anybody, so I didn't give a shit about opinions at all.
Yeah,
I feel
dude.
like if you were here and you have like your friends around you, you don't want to be seen selling flags on the street. I get that. I understand it's a powerful, suppressor. I get it. But I promise you, fuck that. Like, this is the worst detriment you can have in your entire life. Imagine for a second if you just took real advice with the same face value as you take other people's opinions. Like, imagine that just for a second where you think, I don't want to wear this t-shirt out on the street. You give that so much value, it doesn't matter. This dude is going to go home to his sad life and his shitty ass apartment, and he doesn't give a shit about you. So why would you wait for his opinion? Just go do something. You're going to be fine. I feel like it's very easy once we let go of other people's opinions. And that's why I was lucky not to have that influence on me.
Dude, that's so huge. And I've actually found that too as somebody that's from here, right? Like, I do have networks. I do have friends here. Everybody I ever knew, most of them are still in my hometown. And that's kind of where I started out this quarantine. And I think that was honestly part of the problem is like, you want to conform to, and they want you to conform to who you used to be. But if you're in the middle of making this transition into the next phase, into really chasing your passions and your goals and your potential, like, I think it's really important that we allow ourselves to shed that, because like, dude, they don't get it. Like, they just don't they don't understand why I need to work 12, 15, 16 hours a day. They don't understand why I would drive an hour and a half each way through blizzards to go and bang nails to maybe get an hour of my mentor's time. They don't get that, right? And they're like, well, what are you making? And I'm like, dude, I'm volunteering. I'm not making anything right now. I'm trying to get this guy's knowledge because that's worth everything. You know, the more you work, if you're working on an hourly rate, like, dude, doubling your hours is not going to help. Like, unless you're making a lot.
You only have so
and then
many
the tax
hours.
Man, well, dude, and then the tax man's going to come and take half of it anyways once you pass that 100 grand goddamn marginal tax rate. So, like, you might as well just not. And I get that too. And from what's always helped me here too, it is really in line with what you're saying. And I hadn't even really thought about it, but I've moved cities every 2 years, my whole life. After I started college, like, I went to college, I lived in Kitchener, Ontario. I lived in Waterloo, Ontario. I lived in Guelph, Ontario. I lived in Collingwood. I lived in Thornbury, Ontario for a bit. And now I'm here in London for the longest time ever. And guess what we're talking about right now? I don't know if anybody knows this yet, but what we're talking about right now is we're getting a badass mansion in the GTA, right?
Yeah,
So it's time to go, man. We're getting too close. And this is what I was saying right at the start of this podcast is like, oh shoot, I think that was during our intro talk before I hit that record button. But we're running into this challenge now where, like, we've literally outgrew our city. Like, there's just no more people to really explore and have engaging conversations and grow with. And we're starting to get plagued by those limiting beliefs of the people that are comfortable with where they're at. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're fine people. They're good people even. They're great people, some of them. And, you know, hearing their limiting beliefs and hearing the limitations that they want to impose on us is absolutely toxic. So what time is it? It's time to move, man. It's time to move through it. And I talked about this on a recent podcast as well. But, like, it's like an ambush, right? A proper ambush, your enemy is going to take high ground. They're going to ambush you in such a way that they'll block any entrance or exit. So, like, say it's a 3-car driving situation, they're going to hit the front car. As you try and reverse out of that situation, if you're the middle and back car, they're going to hit the back car. Now you're trapped in the middle. It's a goddamn kill zone. It's a kill box, right? And they've hopefully have high ground. They're going to assault down on you, and they've got all the advantage. And the only options you have there, right? Literally the only thing you can do is assault through the attack, right? You have to push through it, because if you stay there, you die, right? They have the advantage now. So what can you do? Well, you have to maneuver and attempt to gain a tactical advantage by gaining high ground. That's the only way to do it. Like, there's no other option. You just die. So this is where we're at every time we're surrounded by these people with limiting beliefs, or when you're in a town or in a circumstance or in a business or in a social setting where you can't thrive and you can't go to your potential, you just need to assault through. You need to push through that and move, change. The other cool thing with change is, as soon as you change your environment, you can really rebuild new habits. You can start doing a new routine. You can set up your living space and your living quarters in a different way to promote whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Now, Mina and I talk a lot about, like, money and cars and watches and, like, you know, really just trying to get the most out of it. But again, it's something Mina already said, like, if that's not your thing, if your thing is something else, you can focus your energy however you want. Like, it doesn't need to be on money. We're interested in growing more, because why not? But, like, if you're interested in other stuff, like, set your life up so that you can do that. Like, set your living quarters, set your friends, your social relationships, your habits, your behaviors, everything, your diet, your sleep, your physical exercise, set all that up for success so that you can have whatever it is that you're trying to get. So,
Like,
man,
I want to just add a little bit.
Yeah,
like, there's 2 parts to what you said. It's extremely interesting. So number 1 would be what you're saying, like the money part of it and whatnot. There is literally maybe 80% of the problems that people have is because of money in some way. I know it's not the ultimate happiness. I know you're blah, blah. I know all that shit. Okay, I get it. It's not satisfaction. I understand. But there's a shit ton of problems that you and I have that could be solved by money. There's a lot
100%.
of problems if you throw money at it. It's like a hole. Throw enough money at it, it's going to fill itself out.
It'll fill it up.
There's just throw enough money at something, it'll get fixed. Yeah, but your health, okay. Then once you fix 80% of your problems, you could fix other things as well. Then so basically my issue is I want to have enough money that I don't give a shit about money, that it's not one of my problems anymore. And then I could start, talking about, but what about meditate, like whatever that looks like, my emotional health. And I just want to have enough money to solve most of my issues, then work on the other things. The second thing is complacency, like what you're saying exactly. it's such a killer once you, because you get comfortable and then your brain starts to like, because your brain is automatically geared towards like conserving your resources. Like, why the fuck would you work when you're okay, you're alive, just shut up, sit down. So the what you're doing is great. Like, it has like a very interesting psychological effect. It's actually one of the most intriguing contributions of psychology to like human behavior and tracking human behavior is the grand gesture. So it's a tactic that everybody who's like extremely successful and filthy rich uses. I heard like Bill Gates, what he used to do is, because he gets complacent, like he's fucking Bill Gates, like he doesn't need to
Yeah.
fucking do anything at all. He literally can walk down naked all his life, do nothing, and he'll be
Yeah.
better than everybody. He takes off, he goes to somewhere for 2 weeks just to sit down with his thoughts and does a grand gesture. Freaking, what is the lady that wrote Harry Potter? What's her name? J.K. Rowling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was having trouble writing her last book. What did she do? She went to the most expensive hotel somewhere, booked the most expensive suite, like $2,000 a night, to force her brain, because now the brain has a massive commitment. Like, okay, shit, we committed this much money, we changed our environment, now we better fucking work. So complacency hits everybody, from Bill Gates to our shitty asses. So we need to keep moving. Like, that's what you're doing. You're living okay. The mansion is a beautiful place, a dream place for most people, like that area, right? And you're just saying, fuck this, I'm going to go somewhere much bigger. Why? That's a grand gesture. Now your brain is like, shit, I need to afford this $20,000 place or $10,000.
Yeah.
I need to work harder. And it's so interesting to me, and you will. Like, there's no way around it. So I appreciate that, because I'm going to fucking do that as well. I'm going to figure something out that makes my brain just flip on its head and just do some more work. Like, it's fine.
Right? Dude, I love it, man.
Absolutely.
Like this is what drives us. I can tell, like, both of us get heated right now. It's like, you know, when you've got the next thing in sight, when you've got that thing, it's so easy, man, to put in the reps. Like, by the end of the day, you'll crank 12, 15 hours. Everybody thinks it's an unhappy process. Dude, I finished 15 hours of work now, and I'm thinking about that mansion. I'm thinking about that Aston Martin or the Porsche. I'm thinking about that next Rolex. I want to date just 41 in champagne dial with a Jubilee bracelet. I'm thinking about that shit, right? And when I'm thinking about that, I'm not thinking about the work. I'm just putting it in. I'm just doing the reps. I'm not even thinking about it, right? I'm throwing free throws, man. I'm swinging the club. Like, that's it. That's all I'm doing. And it's not work, dude. You get done 15 hours, and it's just like, nice, you know? And then, you know, get into bed, put on a podcast, you know, get to sleep. I'm waking up every morning now, like you said, without an alarm. I don't need an alarm, dude. I'm ready to go. I'm up at 6 a.m. every day without fail. I've actually been experimenting. When I was in Collingwood, I don't know why it's not happening here, but when I was in Collingwood, I was just waking up at 4:30, like just opening my eyes. And I was like, you know what? I'm good to go. And that was a sweet feeling. Now here, it's more natural. The sun hits my window. I got an east window here at 6 a.m. I get up with the sun. Boom, I'm ready to go. We work out with our whole team at 7 a.m. And then I get to hit the day. And like, you just put the reps in until the sun goes down. And then sometime around 10 o'clock, like I lay down, I get my podcast on, and I just try and relax and think about what my next day is. I review my calendar and see what I'm going to do. And none of this seems like work right now. Dude, it's so exciting. And like, I'm surrounded. I'm literally surrounded. So my team all lives in the same house. We call it the mansion. We all live here. There's 5 of us. We've got 2 of them actually. So it's only half the team lives here, and then the other half lives in another house. But like, the 5 of us live here, and we just have big conversations every day. Like yesterday, we all took a minute and just watched like the Tesla, or sorry, not the Tesla, the SpaceX launch to the fucking moon, dude. Like, and I posted on my Instagram, like, you think your goals are big enough? You got Elon sending people to the goddamn moon, and he's the first private rocket company who just said he could do it better than the National Administration of Space. Like, dude. So I'm like, man, this guy's got some serious goals. And I listen to him. I listen to Kevin Hart, The Rock, whoever, Jim Carrey when he was banging out good speeches. Like, you listen to these people and you're like, man, there is no ceiling. Like, you can just go for whatever you want. And yeah, dude, I just get so fascinated and so plugged in. And I think these conversations are what, for me, like, I don't care if nobody listens to these podcasts. I just want to connect with more people like you that I can just talk to, right? And if I get to spend an hour you know, twice a week or every day even. I don't even know where I want to set my expectation for this, but if I can get enough people, I'd love to do this every day, where I just spend an hour or an hour and a half talking to somebody like yourself, who by the time I'm done, I'm like, dude, just go put in the reps, you know?
Yeah.
And I want to hear all these people's perspectives and whys and like what they're doing, how they started. And hopefully, I don't know if anybody's listening to this, but if they are, like, damn, dude, get after it. Cause like there's people out here like Mina, you know, like Jeff Weibel, like Matt McKeever, who just said, fuck it, like, let's go. Cause like there's no excuse. Like I don't know what you would do if you just lived like 9 to 5 and then you just kind of gave up on the rest of the day. Like that to me feels like defeat. Like it just feels so boring, you know, like when you're dreaming about that 2-week vacation somewhere that's going to take probably most of your resources, and then all of a sudden you're right back at it trying to catch up and build that surplus up, and then something happens, right? The car breaks, the roof leaks, the fucking toilet's leaking, you know, mom's got a slip and fall, or maybe she's going to a nursing home. It's like, dude, I don't get it. Like, why not just have a lot? You know? And
Yeah, exactly.
like a lot. What's enough? I don't know. A lot. Like,
Doesn't matter. Like how much you want, just more. Like whatever
more.
that number is, just more, more of everything. Like happiness, time. Like why the fuck not? Like yeah, it
dude.
bothers me. But I fucking told Matt McKeever, like I'm serious. So for me, I'm a pharmacist, so I have my license. So technically, if I gotta work in whatever pharmacy, yeah, like a legal drug dealer, I could work somewhere and get like $50 an hour and just be okay. Like I'm not gonna live too bad, but I would fucking kill myself. I swear I would kill myself if I had that life. I would quit, go stay with you guys in the mansion. Like literally a week ago, I told Matt McKeever, just dude, let me move in the mansion. Just let me move there. I don't fucking mind. I don't care. It's just because if I'm sitting with Adam all day and Matt all day and we're having this self-narrative talks and we inject each other with whatever energy, you can't lose that. That shit is always there. And you have that switch where you could just go attack, get whatever you want. How much better can life get, right? It's fucking crazy.
Man, that sounds like living with purpose, though. Like, even though it's just like material stuff that we might set our goal on, like it sounds so purposeful to just get after it, man. Like spend, because like what are you gonna do? Like, are you really gonna watch 3 hours of Netflix every day? Like, what's the purpose there? Like, cool. It's kind of cool to live through the eyes of that. And like, I love watching like high octane shows. Like, I love watching like Billions or Suits in the first few seasons before it turned into a drama. Like there's still shows that I watch, or like Game of Thrones, even just because it was fascinating, man. Like think about power moving and like just the various ways of like persuasion and power and influence and like all these grand ideas. It's kind of cool to like benchmark that. And like even with the Hollywood flair on it, where like, you know, they got helicopters and chefs and private jets bringing them all over the place. And like, I don't think it's unattainable. That's the thing. Like, I really think you can do it. Like, Grant Cardone can do it, right? And he's just a dude. Like, you know, I shook his hand before. He's a fucking dude, right? Elena Cardone, his wife, she's just a woman who, like, decided to get after it. And she's getting after it now. Like, she's writing books. She's got a huge following, lots of influence. Like, all these people are just people. Like, Gary Vee. Man, he was just a dude with a camera and a goddamn wine cellar, right? And a website. That's it. And, like, now look at him, right? The Rock, man. The guy's nobody. Like these people, like it's crazy. Like it's just
like, don't have special attributes. Like, okay, let's say Bill Gates, fucking genius, Elon Musk. If you don't have that particular talent, you might not be that guy. But why the fuck are you not like Grant Cardone? He's not a genius at all.
No,
there is
nothing.
There's 20,000 Grant Cardones working in McDonald's and Tim Hortons or like that. I mean, like that level of talent. So what did he have? He just had a thing. Well, I just want to be rich as hell. I'm just going to work harder than 20 people. I'm just going to be 20 people in one, and I'll achieve it. And he did, right? Whether you like him or not, that's a different story. But it's a matter of the fact that he's not an extremely talented guy, and he reached extraordinary levels of wealth. And there's millions of examples like that. So if you're sitting there saying, I'm not talented, but where do I start? But where do I just get out and do one thing, and it's just going to roll. But I think it's hard, though. I still think it's hard to get out of that first rut. You know,
it's the hardest
what do
place,
I do now?
Like, you have no evidence that it's going to work. But like, I guess like hopefully we are a bit of evidence that it can work, right? Like, there's no reason to get started unless you think it's going to work. So like, you got to look at, you know, people like Mina, like, you know, even I've done it, Matt, Jeff, these guys are just starting as normal people and getting after it. But dude, like you bring up Elon, like, yeah, he's naturally talented, but he also, when they were getting started with PayPal, they only had one goddamn computer. So he would code all night, overnight, and keep the website running during the day. And their office was also where they lived. So like they would sleep on like a pull-out couch in their office at PayPal, trying to get this goddamn software running at a time where like there was no evidence that this was going to work. And same thing, man, he sleeps on the factory floor at Tesla when things are going bad. Like the guy is an animal. The same thing, I'm sure, with Bezos. I don't know his story that well, but Gates went all in the same, man. They were doing pizza parties every freaking night, night after night, trying to code this stuff until his eyes were basically bleeding because he'd been staring at the screen so long. Like these guys put in serious hustle. And I just love that, dude. So yeah, Mina, I mean, this has been fantastic, dude. I think we're coming up probably close to that hour mark. So
Oh shit. Yeah.
unless you
I
want
didn't feel
to,
it, man.
unless you want to
I didn't feel it, man.
shove something else in here, we might as well let these people go and start putting in the reps. But dude, it has been an absolute pleasure. So tell these
It's a
people where
pleasure,
they
man,
can find you.
always. Like, just, yeah, Instagram, MinaG88, and same on YouTube, MinaG88. Just getting started there. So maybe I'll put some reps in and stop talking as well. So yeah, like that's about it. Anybody wants to connect, I would love to talk to someone. But if you're just going to ask questions that are just shitty and not do anything, please, like, let's not talk. But if you want to do just one small thing, I would help you with anything that I have. If you're just going to move off your goddamn ass and do something. Yeah, man.
Hey, Mina's legit about this too. I saw him once. There was a guy who wanted to take action, but didn't have the resources. Mina stepped up, dude, wrote the dude a check right on the spot and just said, if you're going to take action, here it is. Get after it, son. And it was the coolest thing ever because it was like that. It was where everything clicked. Like, you know, he means it. Like this
Absolutely.
dude's genuine.
I swear to I would, anybody who wants any help, but I know that they're going to fucking do it, I would help with anything that I can. Literally anything. Yeah. But yeah, let's see where this takes us, my man.
All right, dude. Mina, I love you, man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for getting after it here. This is the very first episode of Mic'd Up Millionaires. And if you're still listening, you're probably one of the special kind of crazy that it's going to take to actually push through, put in the reps, get yourself some success, and go get whatever it is that you want out of life. Happiness, productivity, money, things, you know, get after it, whatever it is. So thanks again for tuning in. If you're not already following me, it's Adam JD Martin on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. And this thing is going to be posted on all possible platforms as soon as possible. So check it in, share it if you can, and feel free to reach out to me as well. If there's anything I can help with, whether that's actual advice on how to get started, advice on how to change your social circle, advice on real estate investing, I'm fine to give out that as well. And really anything else I can do to help if you're listening to this. Also, if you are a millionaire and somehow you made the time to stick through to this point, get after me as well. I'm looking for more people to sit up on here. I've got the next probably 10 episodes planned out, but if you're sitting there and you think you've got a great story to tell, or you're on your way, you're really close to that million, let's talk about it. Yeah, thanks guys. Peace. All right, dude.